Hey guys, Becky here with Design Bundles, and I'm super excited to have you join me today because we have another really great sublimation tutorial for you today. And this time we are talking about EasySubli, but we are working with EasySubli without using the print and cut feature. Alright guys, so here we are in Silhouette Studio. Now, I do all of my sublimation work in Silhouette Studio, and I want you to know that you can also do this in Cricut Design Space, but you're going to have a little bit of workaround and you're going to be limited to the size that you can print. Okay, because I did show you guys a workaround on how to print larger images using Design Space, or rather setting up your images in Design Space and then exporting them for larger printing, but you can't really do that with this type of project because you need to be able to line up your cut file with it. And I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's just a lot harder. It's a lot harder, and I would consider it a very advanced designing setup. So if possible, do this with Silhouette, and then of course it'll just be much easier. So what I have here is I have a cut file and I have a sublimation file. And I'm going to show you how to line these up, and of course, you know, I really love this design. I love it a whole lot. I'm from Florida, if you guys didn't know, so I always love anything flip-floppy and beachy, and it just really calls to me. So looking here, we're going to want to check out our page setup menu, and we can go ahead and leave the machine as Cameo 4, because that's what I have. The cutting mat will be fine at the regular Cameo setting. And then the letter size page will be fine also. Now, this will just depend on the EasySubli you're using, if you're using letter size sheets. So completely up to you. For this, I really like that I can use basically just a scrap from whatever I'm using, because I'm not going to actually run it through the printer. All right, remember that this is not doing as a print and cut. This is doing it separately, being able to cut the EasySubli and then line up your design, because not everybody's a fan of the print and cut. But we're going to leave it at letter size. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring up a File Explorer. And so here is the file that I purchased from Design Bundles, and I can just drag and drop that over into the software. Now, if you notice, this one did not come with a transparent background. So of course, I'm not going to lie, it would be a lot easier if it did, but guys, you just have to know that not everything is going to come with a transparent background. But we can still grab it, we can hold on to it, so it's a good clip art image to use, and we're going to make this a lot easier using our trace panel. So let's open the trace, you select trace area. Now this is just a basic trace, we're not doing anything special. We are going to incorporate our entire design, and you notice not very much of it fills in. That's okay. We're going to come over here and I'm going to change the threshold to 99, and that is going to fill in my entire design. I do by default change the scale to 4. On this design it's not super necessary, but it does help you get a little bit more detail in some of your other designs. So I just make it a habit. Threshold of 99 for this and a scale of 4. Hit trace. Now, some people will go ahead and hit trace and detach. I don't really like to do that. I'm not in the habit of recommending that feature because things can get a little complicated and not everything gets removed and yada, yada, yada. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to select just the red outline. Okay, just my trace. And just really take a look at it. If you want, you can increase the line thickness and it'll show up a little bit better. And just make sure that your entire design is incorporated within that. Mine is. I'm very happy with my trace. So let's select the entire design, and we will open up the Modify panel and choose Crop. Now you'll notice I do have one little straggler here, so I am going to delete that out. But basically, my design is done. Now, what I can do, there are a couple things I can do, is I can print it and cut it just like this. Okay, I can even turn on the print bleed. That way I get the nice little border around the outside, and that will give me my look of just printed and pressed, and there will be no white border around the outside. That's not my favorite look. I actually prefer the white border, and I also feel like that makes it easier to line up and not make a lot of mistakes. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create an offset, and let's do an offset. We'll just do 0.1. That should be good. Hit apply. And I'm also going to release the compound path And because what I don't want to do is I don't actually want to cut these small pieces in here in the design. So I'm going to hold down my Shift key and I'm going to select the pieces that I want to keep. I want to keep the outline and I want to keep the division here inside of the flip-flops. Everything else, I can just click delete and it will remove that. And then I can click on these pieces again, remake my compound path, and all will be well. I just don't like when I have to go in and weed out those little pieces, and it's really not necessary for a design like this. So if you need to get a preview of what this will look like, you can actually change the color, and it'll show you it's just going to be a nice border around your entire design. And then, of course, we will go ahead and size this down to fit on our letter size page. Now, you also want to keep in mind the size of whatever you're putting this on. If you're putting this on a shirt, I, in particular, am putting this on a bag, so I don't have to worry too much about it, but just measure whatever you're working on and make sure that you do size this whatever size you need it. Now, what I'm going to do, here, let's go back to working with my original. What I want to do is I want to position this, and then I want to move my EasySubli. So let's ungroup, and then I need to mirror this. So flip horizontally. Now that's because I don't have my printer automatically mirror. So now we can print. I just use Control P, but you can also go to File and Print. And let's go to Settings. I need to change this to Portrait. There we go. Now it does look like I'm a little bit outside of the margins here. Okay, so let's go over to Print and let's change our preferences. Paper cassette. Now I'm gonna check borderless because my printer does that, so then I don't have to worry about it. Quality standard, premium presentation, paper matte. Let's hit OK and apply, and then I'm gonna hit cancel. And I want to look at that border again. There we go. I just needed to make sure that none of my design was going to be cut off. So let's hit print, and this will print over on my Epson printer. So now it's time to focus on cutting our EasySubli. Now I can bring this over here. You notice that I filled it with gray instead of white. It just makes it easier to see. And we can just center the page because, like I said, I am using a letter size piece of EasySubli. So now I will just cut it regular, because I know that EasySubli is heat transfer vinyl, but it does not have a built-in carrier sheet. Remember, we use the masking for it. So what that means is that I do not want to mirror it because I'm not cutting the back side, I'm cutting from the front. So that'll make more sense, but for the most part, just make sure that you mirror your sublimation design, but do not mirror your EasySubli. So I'm going to click over to Send. And I want heat transfer smooth, but then I do need to update the settings. So I need a blade of 3. The speed of 8 is fine, but then I want a force of 15. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and save this as a custom setting. And I will go ahead and, let's see, rename EasySubli. So now if I want to, I can just click down and under my user-defined EasySubli will be there. All right, so we want to definitely make sure that you do a test cut on your EasySubli. The material is definitely not cheap. It's kind of on the expensive side if you ask me, but I feel that way about a lot of things, guys, so maybe that's not accurate, but it's really neat and it's really useful and I like it a lot. So let's go ahead and make sure that we do those test cuts, and as long as you get a successful test cut, then proceed to cut out your design. All right, guys, so let's take a look at our EasySubli. Now, it's actually, it's pretty hard to see the cut lines, but you can see I did my test cut up here. And I wanted to show you EasySubli has a glossy side, which mimics the carrier sheet, so that should be a clue, and it has a matte side. Now, the matte side is the side we're going to sublimate on, and this side is not a carrier sheet, it is actually just the backing. So let's go ahead and show you what that's going to look like. All right, guys, so we're looking at our EasySubli, and then we're also looking at our print here. And what I'm going to do first is I need to go ahead and transfer the EasySubli. So what I'm going to do, I have this EasyTac Krylon. It's a repositionable spray. And I'm going to spray down my print. And I sprayed it pretty heavily, which normally I do not spray it that heavily, but I want to make sure that I get a really good stick on my project. So I'm lining up my print because I can see through the white to be able to tell if it's lined up or not. All right, so that's pretty good. Now I can actually see that I do not have a white border all the way around. My print did not line up exactly, so that may be something to take into consideration and why you might want to use this as a print and cut instead of just doing it this way. But it's just always important to remember that you have options. So now I'm gonna work my way down and I'm going to peel the EasySubli off the backing so that it will stick to the sheet. This is in place of using the masking. Now, if I have any areas that need any special attention, I can come in and manipulate them individually. My EasySubli is now adhered to my sheet. So I'm going to be able to take my bag here. Now this is just a drawstring bag. It'll be really cute to go with our summer pattern. And I can turn this print side up. The bag is a little thin, so I'm gonna slide some butcher paper under there. I'm gonna put this on top. Okay, so you're looking at a heating temperature of 311, and we're going to press for right around 30 seconds. Now I am applying a decent amount of pressure because this is still a heat transfer vinyl product, so pressure is going to be important. And then what I'll do is I will pick up my Easy Press and press again, since this Easy Press is not large enough to press my entire design. So there is my gorgeous sublimation project. And I'm super duper excited because now I have a fun new drawstring bag to use for the summer. So guys, how did you feel about our little hack for using EasySubli without using it as a print and cut? Now, of course, I'm not gonna lie, you are going to get more consistent results with the print and cut feature. And that is a big draw with using the EasySubli because you can use it as a print and cut and it takes all of the guesswork out of lining up your design. But guys, this is a really, really good option, especially if print and cut just is not your forte. That's okay, no judgment here. Not everybody enjoys print and cut, and you know, there are some days that I really don't either. So if you have any questions or comments about anything that we did in the video today, please make sure you leave that down below. I do love to hear from you guys. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, maybe share with a crafty friend. All of that really helps to support our little channel here so that we can keep bringing you these videos in the future. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you stopping by. I'm going to wrap it up, but we will see you again next time.